If you could identify one or two things, what are the biggest challenges that you think are holding back the mobility market, quite simply?
Challenges, there are a few. The one is, of course, the cost of the electricity, because a lot of our electricity comes from natural gas still, on which we depend. We don't have too much cheap energy now to produce cheap hydrogen with natural gas, and we don't have enough sun and wind power in Europe installed to produce enough green hydrogen either. So availability of cheap electricity is one of the factors who will make or break our businesses. For that reason, there are a lot of studies outside the market who show clearly that the countries who have a large wind and solar potential will be the one capable of producing the lowest hydrogen cost per kilogram. So we have seen a lot of these studies around Chile, but also in Northern Africa, then in Middle East, let's say around the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, but also going in other part of the world. We have Australia, who is also having a huge potential for solar-powered electricity production. So we need to solve the question of available and cheap electricity to produce our cheaper hydrogen. And then, of course, it is another question, how do we solve the question of the transportation, which we have just discussed before? Because every way, every different transportation, is it compressed or liquid or organic carrier, or is it hydrogen in liquefied form, they demand different quantities of energy to be applied for that transportation method. And then again, finally, at the filling station, it is a big difference if we are fueling the vehicles at 350 bar working pressure, or if we are filling at 700 bar, because the 700 bar, they need higher compression energy to compress the gas at 950,000 bars. At the same time, we need to cool hydrogen down while filling, so to enable faster filling times of these 700 bar fueled vehicles. So summing up, the problems are known: energy costs, conversion costs, total cost of ownership.
Thank you for that, Radiša. And almost as a follow-up question, Matthew Potter asked whether or not utilising renewable natural gas to produce hydrogen is a positive for the industry. So maybe you could give some clarity on this.
Well, I am aware of few projects who are already considering utilizing renewable natural gas. It makes absolutely sense. Austria is one of these countries where renewable natural gas is popular. So it's going to be either used as a biogas, as we call it, as a renewable natural gas for natural gas fueled vehicle, or hopefully that we will be able to see soon hydrogen produced out of that. Still, one needs to consider the amount of the carbon and what happens with that afterwards.
Yeah, thank you for that, Radiša. Maybe we could ask you the same question, Kristina?
Yes, I think we are going to see the solutions, but from a fuel cell perspective, we of course support very heavily the first route that Radiša mentioned before, based on the renewable electricity sources coming from wind, solar, hydropower, to be producing the green hydrogen, which can then be used in fuel cell solutions for this decarbonization exercises. And this has to do also with the quality of the hydrogen to be used for these transport solutions. But in the name of hydrogen being a scarce resource, and there being a lot of users for looking for these renewable or low emission, almost completely renewable energy sources, that will, in that sense, I guess we will have to go for whatever we can find looking around us to create this both low emission, zero emission, but also resilient, self-sufficient energy system that also lies within the same agenda to become more robust and self-sufficient.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for that answer, Kristina. And maybe we could put the same question to you, Wayne, and have your insight and maybe some from Shell's.
Yeah, sure. Gosh, well, it's a big topic. At Shell, we're working on all of it, and that means it competes at our VP and EVP level. So my job is to make hydrogen as good as it can be, because it will compete on these metrics at those higher levels. Yeah, the goal to decarbonize is clear. The strength with hydrogen is that all of these pathways can be decarbonized. So at Shell, our purpose is to produce decarbonized hydrogen, and the question is in each market for each customer, which is the best pathway. I think on principle, if you have a renewable source electron, it's the highest quality of energy if it can be put directly into an electric motor or through a battery into an electric motor. Do that. That's very high efficiency. If it's stranded, if it's in the wrong place at the wrong time, then you're thinking about, we would think about moving it to a customer first, better than storing it, better than storing electrons. Let's move them to customers where and when they need them, and hydrogen is a great way to do that. But then let's recognize that we live in a molecular world as well. So there are also molecules out there as well as electrons. And as we look at energy systems, it's very hard to see how the world's energy systems work without wires and pipes. And it's very hard to see how the world's molecules just pile up without good use. So there are a lot of feedstocks for renewable natural gas, biogas production. And then as that is produced, it can be used directly into heating and commercial uses, or brought into hydrogen production. And then lastly, I'd say there are exciting emerging commercial scale kinds of gasification approaches. Take that molecular feedstock from various waste streams and directly dissociate the molecules, and you end up with syngas, and you can pull off the hydrogen, and in many of those processes, the carbon comes out as a solid rather than a gas. So again, lots of diversity, and that diversity is a real strength for doing decarbonized hydrogen systems.